Yo, welcome to Elaborate. I'm your host, EJ Civils. This podcast, I intend for it to be about basketball from the NBA pros to the YouTube ballers. I watch a lot of YouTube ballers, and I really want to dive into which of those guys people think is the best and which matchups we would like to see. So, this podcast will be about basketball. I watch a lot of battle rap too. I tend to veer off sometimes to talk about battle rap because battle rap is kind of off and on. But yeah. So that and I love the stock market. I love doing stock market stuff. I love doing investing in startup companies and things like that. But anyway, before I go too far, I like to pose questions that hopefully make people think when it comes to basketball. Pose questions that tend to be a reach. I wouldn't say it's a reach, but it's definitely an extension. And depending on how you answer, I don't really care. I'm not necessarily a fan in either favor. So, for instance, the question I want to put down right now, people can do the comments. If you get in the comments, tell me how you feel. Who is the better scorer all time? Not who has the most points. Who is the better scorer as far as putting the ball in the hole? Kevin Durant or Kobe Bryant? Kevin Durant and Kobe Bryant. But we'll get to that topic later. But for now, what I would like to do is go ahead and get this conversation out of the way. The GOAT debate, the conversation that dominates basketball conversations for the last 5 to 8 years of basketball. So the great GOAT debate between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Before I start, I'm going to tell you who my top 10 are, excluding the first two, obviously, because I want to have that conversation. So, at number 3, for me, I got Kobe Bryant. At number 4, I got Shaq. At number 5, I got Tim Duncan. Number 6, I got Magic. Number 7, I got Larry Bird. Number 8, I got Steph Curry. Number 9, I got Kareem. I know a lot of people going to hate that one, I guess. I never really saw Kareem play, but when I did see him play, watching those 80s and those highlights, I thought Magic Johnson was the best player on that team. So anyway, but number 9, I got Kareem, and then at number 10, I got Bill Russell. But my 1 and my 2 between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. So when we get into this, right? So first off, I don't necessarily like I think there's something to be said about being able to just recant stuff from memory. How I feel about something just makes a conversation go a little better sometimes than picking up and Googling, he scored 40 points back in, 1924, whenever these, people who played are we discussing. Sometimes I just like to hear how I feel. I like to hear how people feel before I go and Google and get the actual factuals, right? So I grew up big Jordan fan. Got a lot of memorabilia as far as collectibles and the shoes and the t-shirts, everything that was Michael Jordan. I think every kid probably had all of those things. So I was a big Jordan fan growing up. And then I went from being a Jordan fan to a Trace McGrady fan. Trace McGrady, Steve Francis, probably my 2 favorite players that are just Trace McGrady and Steve Francis are people I just hold near and dear to me, just because I feel, they may not be better than said person, but yeah, Steve Francis. And then I get a lot of people tell me that I look like Steve Francis, so that maybe I'm a little biased in that, that's why I like Steve Francis, because he was good. But anyway, then LeBron James came on the scene. I think what is 03, LeBron came, and at some point it was just kind of LeBron James was amazing, right? And at the time, when I first got interested in watching, when I'm sitting down and actually watching in and locking in and watching basketball, not just watching highlights, I'm watching this basketball game today. LeBron James, I had never seen anybody as strong and as fast as LeBron James was. Now, that aside, when they took and lost to I think they lost to the Spurs first, right? Whatever that was. When they lost to the Spurs, maybe that was 07, maybe? 07, 08? I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, they lose to the Spurs, right, in that finals where they won 66 games. I didn't expect the Spurs to, I didn't expect the Cavs or LeBron James to beat them. So I don't hold I don't hold a lot of the earlier losses against LeBron James outside of the Mavericks one. I thought the Mavericks one was very telling, right? I mean, we don't need to sit around and talk about that. Everybody knows LeBron James underperformed. Simple as that. But I go back to Michael Jordan, and I don't know if I could say the same thing about any of his championship runs, not necessarily his playoff runs, because I'm pretty sure his playoff runs in his early 80s, late 80s, I'm sorry, and then like the early 90s when they lost to the Pistons a few times. I'm pretty sure he had some bad games back then, but there was no time where I felt like Jordan underperformed in the finals. Right, you get there. I don't think he ever underperformed in the finals, and I think that was a key difference between LeBron and Jordan is simply the finals performances. So for me, my argument for Jordan being the GOAT stops once you leave the realm of 6-0 in the finals. And if you're a Jordan advocate, if you're a person that says, "Hey man, Michael Jordan is the GOAT," right? He did this. Once you leave, hey man, we 6-0 in the finals, there's not a lot more discussion about what LeBron James or what Jordan does better than LeBron James, in my opinion. I think LeBron James does everything better. With fewer shots, with lesser teams. And I think his scoring ability is, let me say this. Jordan is a higher volume scorer. I think I trust Jordan to carry. So when we talk about being clutch, right? I don't think being clutch is just shooting the last shot, right? We're not talking about just 15 seconds left on the clock, shoot the ball. I'm talking about clutch as in fourth quarter. It's 8 minutes left. We're playing through you. Game's on the line. It's a 2 or 3 point game. 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Give him the ball. And that's how Jordan played. Now, again, you always trust Jordan to go score, but you trust LeBron to make the best plays. So for me, I got LeBron. I got LeBron as my GOAT. Just physically, man, and all the stuff that I seen him do against the Warriors team and that 3-1 comeback was ridiculous. I think if he doesn't win that 3-1, if they don't get that win over the Warriors and come back from that 3-1 deficit, I don't think it's a conversation though. I think that changes. I think that makes his record like 3-7 in the finals. And if he goes from not winning that to being in the conversation of the GOAT, I think that changes a lot of things for me. I think that changes. I don't mind the whole well, he played with the best team. He tried to group up with the best players. Jordan didn't necessarily need to do that because he already had the best players. He had the best perimeter defenders. He had the best three-point shooter. He had the best European player, Tony Kukoc. He had the best rebounder. He had the best coach already. So he didn't have to go and look for those things. They already had them. So I don't think the Bulls are any less of a super team than the Warriors were in the 2017 or the LeBron James them Heat. So for me, I think LeBron James had to shoulder way more of a load. I think he had way more a bigger weight on his shoulders. I think he had more to lose. I think he had more pressure. That's the word. He had more pressure to win and the things he had to do to help his team win. If you told LeBron James all you had to do was score tonight, I'm pretty sure he can go out there and get you 40. But he didn't always just have that role. He had to guard Tony Parker in those early series versus the Spurs. He had to guard Tony Parker. It was sometimes he switched on Tim Duncan. He had to guard Kevin Durant. And he had to come back and score, 30-plus points for them to beat the Warriors. And I don't recall him ever having to guard Steph Curry. We won't go that far. But I do remember seeing him guard Tony Parker and having to guard Tim Duncan and then, switching off and guarding I'm never not switching off a guard, but having to guard Kevin Durant in the game. And it's easy when you watch it to criticize him, but I think it's very hard if you play basketball. Like it is very hard to go score 30 or 25 points. Let's say 25. It's very hard to go score 25 points and guard the best player on the court. It's a certain pressure on your legs that it's just I don't know a lot of people that could do it. So And that said, now Jordan did. Now Jordan did go and try to guard the best players from his, on the other teams. But I seen Jordan say, "Hey man, Pippen, go ahead and go guard that dude right there. Go ahead, man. I'm tired of him. He doing too much." And him switching and Jordan switching off of that said player, Pippen did a great job. You know what I mean? Like LeBron James didn't have that luxury of saying, "Hey man, hey somebody go guard him. I ain't checking him. I ain't checking Kevin Durant tonight. You go do that." If he had that type of leeway, then I think LeBron James maybe wins one more championship. If he had the type of help that people felt that he had. But yeah, man. So long story short, my GOAT is LeBron James. But I do, like I said, I do love Jordan too. I just think that LeBron had a lot more to carry. He had a lot more on his against him. And I'm pretty sure he was an underdog in most of those finals, So, but anyway, I'm just talking straight from the head, man. Like I said, I don't want to talk. I didn't Google any of this, so if you fact check me and I say something wrong, you let me know. I'm not above that. But yeah. So, besides the GOAT debate, something else that I wanted to discuss. I wanted to let people know that about my biases as far as the NBA go. I got some biases, and I think it may bother some people. I think it may not rub people the wrong way. I mean, I would hope not. But bother you as far as like, listen, let me just say one. I am an avid Chris Paul hater. From the rooter to the tutor, avid Chris Paul hater. And I'm starting to become an avid Paul George hater. And let me, I tell you why it hurts. Because at one point I loved them both. At one point, Chris Paul was my guy. When Chris Paul got to the Clippers, and I don't know if y'all remember that 2K10, 2K11, NBA 2K12, that roster back then where it was like Chris Paul, I think Crawford was off the bench. Then you got my boy Caron Butler, greatest 2K player of all time. I'm willing to play you in 2K if you don't believe me. I promise you Caron Butler is one of the best all time. But anyway, Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan on that Clippers team, right? I was a big Clippers fan. So I was all about the, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and all those guys. And to see Chris Paul, it felt like every time, again, I can't recall how many times he played Mike Conley in those playoffs, but it felt like every year Mike Conley was just putting belt to ass on Chris Paul. If it wasn't him, it was Tony Parker. And then if it wasn't Tony Parker, it was Russell Westbrook. It was all the times where Chris Paul was supposed to be the best point guard in the league, and he get to the playoffs and he just nut up. It's like he forget how to play basketball. It's like a game 5 or game 6 where he just is non-fucking existence. Or I remember one time when he played against the Thunder where it was like I can't remember what it was, but he threw the ball like behind. He got 2 crazy turnovers back to back, just blew the game. You know what I mean? So I got fed up with the media's perception. They was like, well, Chris Paul turns teams around, and you put him on a team, and your team's gonna go to the playoffs. So that's when I think he went out to the Thunder, when he went out to with SGA and those guys, and everybody was like, yeah, when Chris Paul comes out here, you go from not making the playoffs to playoff contenders and all this, and I'm like, yeah, but when he was the guy, he wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? When it was his time to get to at least the Western Conference Finals, he got up there and they stunk. He stunk it up. Or he got hurt. Like you get with the Rockets. By the time he got to the Rockets with James Harden, I was already done with him. I was already, I was fed up by that time. So that's part of the reason why I was done with Chris Paul. Now, Paul George, on the other hand, Paul George is a different matter. Paul George is, I believe, overhyped, right? I think he had one good playoff game, not one good playoff game, series. He had one good playoff series versus the Miami Heat back when he played with the Thunder, when he was coming off the bench behind Danny Granger. Danny Granger got hurt, so he ain't got no expectation. The Pacers ain't really got no expectation because they lost Danny Granger. Everything he doing is just kind of cherry on top type of thing, right? And he got this whole image of being the best two-way player in the NBA. Well, stemming from that series, he got known to be a great defender because he guarded LeBron James well. Well, guarding LeBron James well means that LeBron averaged like 31, 10, and 9. That's what good is. Again, fact check me. I'm pretty sure LeBron averaged 30 that Pacers series, but whatever. Great defender. Okay, cool. So I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the vision. I'm riding the wave. I like Paul George. This game smooth. Everybody like it. It looked nice. Cool. Well, he get out to the Thunder. He out there with Russ. And I'm like, okay, Russ, I'm a big Russ fan. Especially at that time. I'm a big Russell Westbrook fan. Paul George get out there. He had one of the best seasons ever. Right? And I think that's when he got shot on by Dame. I think that's that series. I think that's the year he got shot on by Dame. I can't remember if Joe Ingles was prior to Dame or after Dame. Whatever it was, the fact that Joe fucking Ingles is your fucking rival on the court makes my balls itch. It makes my balls itch. And I hated that every time Joe Ingles was out there. I remember one time Joe Ingles hit Paul George with a jab. Jab. And Paul George, you would have thought Joe Ingles was fast as fucking Russell Westbrook the way Paul George slipped and fell off a fucking jab step from Joe Ingles. Pissed me off. And I'm like, okay, all right, Joe Ingles out there looking like prime Kobe damn near. You throw Joe Ingles out there against Paul George, you might as well, hey, wrap it up, Paul George, man. He going home tonight, man. Good game, man. So it go from Joe Ingles, and now you got, then you go to Luka Doncic. Again, best two-way player in the league at the time, at least top 3 at the time, because I think Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler probably were better. But at the time, he was in the conversation, top 3, top 5, right? He go out there, Luka Doncic move like syrup. Luka Doncic don't even pick his feet up when he shoot the ball. Where Paul George at? Somewhere where Luka Doncic ain't. Luka Doncic wide ass open, bucket, 35 on Paul George. Listen. And I'm not mad at Luka Doncic because Luka Doncic is one of the best. He is probably the best. Man, he ain't the best player, but he is one of the top 5 best players in the league. Then when that was happening and now, but when you start telling me somebody's a great two-way player, I at least need for you to make the shots look hard, make it look complicated, at least make it seem like he had to think about the shot. It looked like Luka Doncic looked like at that time. I think Luka Doncic was saying, "Hey man, yeah, it's easier to play over here." This was the same year he was going against Kawhi and Paul George and all them. Hey, this shit is way easier to score over here. It's way harder to score in EuroLeague. He said it was easy to play in the league, in the NBA, when Paul George was checking his ass. You feel me? So so Paul George to me gets this people glaze over the fact that he be getting cooked out there because his game is aesthetically pleasing. We like to watch him play. It looks so smooth. That shit for the birds, man. Listen, that. So I am my bad to tie it all back. I am biased in that regard towards Chris Paul and Paul George to where don't come up here telling me that shit look good on the court. What are you doing? Why are you not available to play when we need you? Why is it the playoffs and you still sitting games out? Why is it the playoffs and James Harden, who was supposed to be the third option on this team, now the first option because your ass ain't playing? I'm over it. Same thing over Chris Paul. Chris Paul get hurt every season too. Whenever they need him, back when the Rockets was up 3-2 versus the Warriors, Chris Paul got hurt. Whatever. James Harden should have got you one out of those, that 3-2. He should have got you one, but Chris Paul got hurt. You kind of lose a lot of your momentum. You lose your momentum on that. So, but anyway, all right. So going back, tying it back, who is the better scorer between Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant? I'm gonna go Kobe. I got Kobe. I was watching some Kevin Durant highlights the other day, and my gosh. That boy, that boy put the ball in the hole, boy. Goodness gracious. But it's again, it's one of those feelings. It's more of a feel type of thing for me, for Kobe. I ain't really got no rationale to say, yeah, Kevin Durant is better. I feel like Kobe did better. Even though I think Kevin Durant's probably more efficient. Definitely shoots the 3-ball better. But there was some shots that Kobe took and make that I feel like only he could take and make. That he only did, man. So but anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up right there, man. That's the first episode. I'm going to sit down and we'll try to do, make it a little cleaner, have some better topics, man. But I just wanted to get something on paper, man. This was me just taking a shot at it and just going off the top, freestyle. Didn't write none of this down. Nothing. There's no script or nothing, man. So, yeah, I appreciate you for tuning in. And leave a comment again on who you have, Kobe Bryant or Kevin Durant, who's the best scorer. All right, guys.